What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central. It's the free agency day. I'm surprised this is the first time that I'm actually recording a bonus episode today, but we got to get into it. Kevin Durant has officially requested a trade from the Brooklyn Nets. What could that mean for the Eastern Conference, the Chicago Bulls, everything as a whole? We'll get into it right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
All right, Bulls fans. So Kevin Durant, as I'm sure many of you have seen, has now formally requested a trade from the Brooklyn Nets. Now, I'm not doing this video because I think the Bulls are going to be in contention, even though there was some rumors earlier in the free agency period that the Bulls could be trying to make a move for Kevin Durant. That was all fandom. I'm not going to say that the Bulls are going to be on Kevin Durant's list until we actually hear that it is on the list. But Kevin Durant moving from the Brooklyn Nets can create a vacuum in the Eastern Conference in a way. Looking at what the Brooklyn Nets were, what they were expected to be, now after Kyrie does decide to go ahead and stay with the Brooklyn Nets, Kevin Durant going, and what this means to me, right? And I don't mean to be harsh, but I do have to be real, right? And that's what I strive to be here all the time, and I have to be real with this, is that what this tells me is that Kevin Durant knew he was going to request this trade from the Brooklyn Nets. What Kevin Durant was doing, because Kevin Durant is the most sensitive basketball player in the world, is that he was hoping that Kyrie Irving was going to decide to leave, and it would have made that decision a little bit easier. Kevin Durant doesn't want the backlash, but he went ahead and requested the trade, so now he's going to have to go ahead and take that. Now, what does that mean for Kevin Durant? What does that mean for the NBA? What teams are going to be on his list? I don't know right now. That has not been reported, but looking at it just off the top of my head, and this is me completely spitballing, guys, so don't completely kill me in the comments for this, but you have to think that a team, maybe even like Phoenix, considering DeAndre Ayton, maybe one out of the Phoenix Suns may want to move on from him. Maybe them and the Brooklyn Nets can work something out there. Look at maybe New York. I know Kevin Durant has talked about playing in New York before, as they have cleared some cap space, not a huge amount, but they have cleared some cap space, maybe working it in with a Mitchell Robinson sign and trade, some other things thrown on top of that as they prepare to also bring in Jalen Brunson. Do they bring in Jalen Brunson and Kevin Durant this season? It's a possibility if they work the signing the correct way as everything times. There's absolutely a world in which that happens as well. So I think New York is definitely possibly on the list as well. Now, will he move from Brooklyn to the New York Knicks? And I don't know. You know, let me know what you guys think about that one down below. Denver may also be on the list to pair with Jokic, as they have some contracts that they can move as well, looking at Michael Porter Jr.'s contract. Now, I'm not sure what they have in the form of draft capital. For example, New York Knicks, they just got a lot of draft capital back when what they did in this draft, kind of pushing their draft selections down some. So that could be something as well. Is Boston possibly in the running as well? Would Boston consider moving a Brown to pair with Tatum and KD? Would they look at something like that? There's a lot of different options, right? The Lakers I know are going to come up because the Lakers come up in every single trade scenario known to man, but I don't really see, because they don't have much draft capital to send in. I don't see the Brooklyn Nets really being interested in any of their players, so I'm going to kind of take that one away. Off the top of my head, like I said, I already mentioned Phoenix may be in the running as well. I'm just trying to do some thinking off the top of my head on what teams could be interested in Kevin Durant. It's going to be such an interesting thing to see Kevin Durant switch teams. That's just wow. That's crazy. That's crazy. But yeah, I mean, when you look at like some of the other trade destinations for Kevin Durant, could the Hawks seriously now that they've traded for DeJounte Murray, could that be something like that? I mean, I guess if the Lakers are really interested, could an AD for Kevin Durant trade happen as well? There's a lot of it, right? There's a lot of possibilities for Kevin Durant, really almost any team. Portland, I almost forgot about Portland. Portland now, they brought in Jeremy Grant, so I don't really see them bringing in Jeremy Grant and Kevin Durant personally. There's some overlap there, but you know, could the Blazers possibly take a look at it? The Phoenix Suns, I think, are the ones that I'm really on the lookout for, considering that DeAndre Ayton thing. That could DeAndre Ayton, Ben Simmons, Kyrie Irving, could that be something that they're interested in? Do the Philadelphia 76ers take a serious look at, I don't know what they have left in trade possibilities, but do they take a look at that to try to bring and pair Kevin Durant with Joel Embiid? There's a lot of different places that they can go, but the place that I'm most worried about is him going to Phoenix, considering the DeAndre Ayton thing, being able to pair down there with Chris Paul. Yeah, Devin Booker as well. Like that is a hell of a team that they could put out there. Now that's a team with a very big injury possibility, but yeah, as this continues to move forward, as we look to see now how does this change the landscape of free agency? Do some teams pivot now on making any type of big moves, hoping that they can now pry Kevin Durant from the Brooklyn Nets? Now, with that being said, Kevin Durant has a lot of years left on his contract. The Nets don't necessarily have to panic to move him. And something that I was talking about before when Bulls fans were saying that the Bulls should try to go after Kevin Durant, I don't think the Bulls have the assets to do so. But the Brooklyn Nets are really in the driver's seat. Yes, Kevin Durant requested a trade. He doesn't have a no-trade clause, so he doesn't really get to have much say in it. The Brooklyn Nets need to look at this and what benefits their team the best, in my opinion. Yes, you want you want to try to treat superstars well, but at the end of the day, you have to send him to a place that is going to get you the most back, whether it's trying to compete now, whether it's future assets, whatever it is. It's going to be a really interesting time. Free agency is still yet to officially kick off, as we're about 3 hours away from the start of free agency, but it's getting more and more interesting as it goes on. I'll be here to cover everything. I'll also be there on Locked On Bulls as well late tonight to cover everything that happens during the day. It's going to be a fun time. So be on the lookout for that. Let me know down below, what are some trade destinations you think are possible for Kevin Durant? And as well, let me ask you this. Do you now look at this? Do you agree with me that Kevin Durant was always going to request this trade? Maybe he's always been tired of Kyrie Irving, and looking at how things went this season, he was maybe hoping that Kyrie Irving was going to opt out, so it could have made it a little bit more, I guess, publicly acceptable for him to request this trade. Let me know what you guys think about all that down below. I can be a conspiracy theorist sometimes, but thank you for tuning in to Chicago Bulls Central. Make sure you're following the show at Bulls Central Pod. You can also send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave us a text and or voicemail, 773-270-2799. Thank you for tuning in. Like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.